Dear Michelle Williams. Okay, I'm sorry. Dear Tenitra Michelle Williams, I have one thing to say to you. Run away from Chad Johnson and get out because, honey, you're heading for disaster in that relationship. And I'm going to talk about this today, even though I just said I have only one thing to say. But it's just going to be straight about this topic. I'm not going to joke on the girl. I'm just going to come out and say it. So just sit back, enjoy. If you want to feast on your Thanksgiving dinner from last night, if you want to have a tall glass of wine, or if you just want to pop your gum while you're listening to this episode of my show, do so. Because I'm going to talk about this. Because I've been watching this show and I got quite a bit to say. What's up, everyone? This is your girl, Miss Ellen Little Cole. I'm coming to you live on this beautiful Friday morning. It's still mid-morning in New York City, and it's very beautiful outside, but it's also very cold. So I'm keeping warm until I head out for work. So I just wanted to I really wanted to talk about this topic for a while, but I said, in order for me to discuss it, I have to watch the show. I can't just listen to other people's comments on YouTube or other social media platforms without seeing it firsthand, the interaction between Michelle Williams of Destiny's Child and her quote unquote, and I do mean quote unquote, fiance, Chad Johnson. Now, the backstory is that Michelle Williams was not really looking for love, but she desired to be married and have a child by a certain age. So I'm thinking about the age of 40. And one of her friends, who I believe was a white woman, has said, there's his pastor, I want you to come to this revival. He's a really good minister and he's a powerful pastor. He gives like good messages when he preaches. So I just want you to hear his sermon. So she went, but she says, I was definitely not looking for love. So when she's there, she's getting mesmerized, but she says she's not really feeling him. But her friend says, Michelle, I think you and Chad would make a good couple. And she was like, no. I'm not looking for love. I ain't looking for love. I just want to come here to hear him preach, and that's it. But all of a sudden, the friend introduced each other. The friend still insisted that they get together. And then finally, Chad approached her about them, dating, and she gave it a chance, and then she claimed she fell in love with him. Now, a year later, around March, he proposed to her and she accepted it. Now, the footage that you see is what we found out about him in March when she got engaged, and they made like the midsection of People magazine. We, as the general public, we didn't know that the proposal was going to air on a reality TV show. Now I got a lot to say about that, because I didn't know. I really just thought that it was genuine when he proposed on Instagram. Okay. Now, fast forward to July. She checks into the mental institution. She's going through bouts of depression, and she also is talking about how she wants to escape her reality. We all know what that talk is about. And pretty much, she's not really happy. She broke up with Chad Johnson 3 times in 1 month. She's called off the engagement. That's not even a red flag. That's like a danger sign right there. Those are danger signs. Those signs like what you see, don't walk, yield, those type of things. That's what that was. Now, I saw the show. I said, I want to see the show for myself. When I first heard him speak, I didn't feel a good vibe from him, because he was talking to his friend about Michelle and how she was incredible, but how he had doubts about the future of their relationship. Then he discusses how he doesn't feel comfortable with her talking about race and how she speaks to him is demeaning. But then he went to meet her family behind her back to ask for their blessing, to ask for their blessing in marriage. I thought that was really weird. Then he does something, or they do something that I find very strange. They speak to this black therapist who's also a minister named Dr. Tamer. And it's like he has to report on her well-being to Dr. Tamer while she's there. And it's always as if Michelle Williams is in trouble. It's like he's telling Dr. Tamer, well, this is what she did, and she didn't do this right. She didn't do this, and she's supposed to do that. The marriage is not equal. I mean, the engagement is not equal. He holds more power to her because he's controlling her mind. Now, on Michelle Williams' part, Michelle is still suffering from deep bouts of depression. Some days she doesn't know if she wants to be in a relationship. Some days she does. But the one thing, sorry about that. But the one thing that she really, really is sure about is that she wants to be married and have a child. But there's also something else that's very interesting. She desired to have a man who was dark-skinned, chocolate, and tall. And if you watch the show, the constant figure she has in her life is a man named George. And George is her best friend, who is a musician, a songwriter, and a music producer. And I think he's more into like gospel R&B. Now, George, I'm not going to go into his sexuality because he doesn't speak about it, but I kind of think he's gay. Maybe, more than likely he is. But to me, that's not my issue. What I find very interesting is that when she's around George, she's actually very happy. Now, there's no romanticism between their friendship, but it's that constant happiness when she's around him. She's more happier being with her friend George than being with Chad Johnson. When she's around Chad, she gets like this nervous, like twitch when she's around Chad. I don't know if y'all noticed it, but when she's around George, it's like, hey, how you doing? Hey, she talks in kiki. And that's how she should be with Chad. Now, the third episode, I was disturbed because she met the sister. And Lindsay was a big Destiny Child fan, but she's not a fan of her brother marrying Michelle Williams. And I feel as though Lindsay is racist. She don't want any colors in the family. I'm going to get to Chad later on in just a bit. But she don't want to have a black sister-in-law. Also, she doesn't like the fact that if Chad marries Michelle, she feels that she's not going to longer be accepted in the family, which is BS. Now, it is true, Lindsay and her children did live with Chad for about 7 years. But then she moved out, got her own place, and she had her daughter. So, this is how I'm going to introduce why I feel Chad is a racist. What they had Michelle doing on the last episode was this. I'm going to audition Michelle to see if she would make a good mom. They had her babysit Lindsay's baby girl. Now, you know that if you're going to be with this woman, you're going to have her babysit. You're going to have interracial kids. Why would you have her not only babysit a white baby, but your sister child your sister's not really feeling Michelle. She doesn't really want her in the family. And the way Michelle was holding the baby, it was sort of like, it gave me thoughts of how the slave girls would take care of the white children. Then they were monitoring her every move to see how she was doing. But then Michelle did something that I'm gonna for her for. She started booty popping while she was on break, putting the baby down. She started booty popping. And to me, it was sort of very like tacky and it was disgusting. I'm like, Michelle, you're giving this man every reason to disrespect you and to trash you once this engagement's breaking up, because it's not the marriage. I don't care. It's not going to happen. But to me, I just felt like the way they treated her to audition her to see if she could be a mom. So it was like, okay, if she can't take care of this baby, I'm not going to have nothing to do with her. And I'm like, first of all, she has a lot of money. She could just have a nanny take care of the baby. If we want to be factual, she don't need to really take care of a child. Okay? She can have a nanny. You know? Michelle Williams is part of an iconic girl group. How dare you have her audition to be a mom by having to take care of your sister's child? And your sister don't even like Michelle like that. Okay, Michelle is of a certain status. Your sister and your family come from the trailer parks. And now I'm going to talk about why I don't like Chad for her. I find Chad to be dangerous. And it's not just with his racism, because he don't want her to talk about black issues. And when she made a comment about, I don't feel as though Chad really understands me pretty much as a black woman. When they have arguments, this is the way that I speak. This is how I talk. And he said to Dr. Tama, who's a black woman, why does everything have to be a race issue? Why does you have to bring up race? It should be about the person. Now, this is how I don't trust Dr. Tama, because Dr. Tama was supposed to stop him in his track and say, because we as black women, we deal with racism very often. And plus, this is America. America was founded on race. It's just something that we can never escape. It is what it is. Dr. Tama, she's full of shit too, because as a therapist, she was supposed to haul him in his trash and she didn't. So I feel as though Dr. Tama and Chad Johnson are conspiring against the detriment of Michelle Williams' mental health. Now, Michelle Williams, her problem is she wants to please people. You're not happy with this man. Why stay with him? And I feel as though she kind of envies what Beyonce and Kelly have. And she doesn't want to be the girl that is still joked on, because Michelle was always joked on throughout her years as Destiny's Child. And she wants to be a winner. But Michelle, this is not the way to win. It's not the way to win at all. Third, I'm going to say something. I'm going to post a photo in my thumbnail on this video. And I want you to look at it carefully. There is a photo of Michelle Williams posing with the peace sign. And Chad is not really behind her fully, but he's behind her to the side, to like the left of her. In the photo, he does something that I find very strange, and he messes with her head a lot. He has like a claw. He makes his hand in like the sign of a claw, as though he's attacking her mental stability. And I always have believed, since I've learned about Chad Johnson, because I've looked at photos of them interacting through the years, I feel that he plays with her mind, and I also feel that he's mind controlling Michelle. I know deep down inside Michelle does not love this man, but I personally believe that she does want what Beyonce and Kelly has, but I also think he manipulates her, and I find him to be extremely dangerous. And that's why I say to Tenitra, Michelle Williams. Oh, and I'm going to say one thing. Last week's episode, she said something. He calls her Tenitra, and she said, I'd rather be called Tenitra when I'm with you. And he said, I kind of like the name Tenitra. Because, it makes you like a regular girl, so forth. And she was like, it's good to be Tenitra because, Michelle is my middle name. I'm sure he knows that. But it was like, when he calls her Tenitra, in a way, it was like he was mocking her. It wasn't like sincerity. And I just found it weird. But her name is really Tenitra Michelle Williams. And also, I want to say this. Based on the 3 episodes I've seen of the show Chad Loves Michelle, I just have one thing to say. Michelle Williams, you need to leave. You need to leave from this man while you can. It's been speculated that you already called off the engagement. I don't believe it. I just think that's for hype for the show. But I feel as though in order to save yourself, you got to be real with yourself. Michelle Williams, you need to run and get the hell out as quick as you can.